Welcome back to Contemporary Black Voices here at Black Video Network. And before we go any further, we always have to acknowledge our producer slash dictator, Carl Booker. No, we really are indebted to Carl because he makes all this happen. He's been doing a heck of a lot in this community in terms of communication. And so our hats off to him. So let's get to hot topic. Jada Pinkett Smith is trying to, and you can correct me when we get into it if you don't like the word trying, to rewrite history with her new version of Cleopatra. And so I'm going to turn over to Sharon so she can talk a little more on it.
Okay, so Adele Adams, who is portraying Cleopatra, is a biracial woman. And interesting enough, the controversy is coming out of Egypt saying that Cleopatra was not a black woman. So Adele Adams did come back and did say something about the controversy. And one of the things she did say was that people forget that this is a docudrama, okay? And so when it's a docudrama, there's going to be some things put in there that may be for entertainment purposes and based on documented facts. So why are we having this controversy when Hollywood has produced movies for years of white people playing roles of people of color? We've had them play Native Americans. We've had them do movies with men in blackface. Yeah. So no one said anything about that. Nobody's saying anything about that. But this is what I'm thinking. As long as black people are portrayed in roles of whether it's subordinate to a leader, it's fine. But once they transition over into a leadership role and they're black, that's when things really get, the bees start buzzing around. Now, another movie that came out that I didn't hear too much controversy about, but I think the British citizens said some things about it, was when Jodie Turner-Smith played the role of Anne Boleyn, who was the wife of Henry VIII. She did an excellent job on that. In fact, I didn't even see her as black further into the movie. So are people just rather see us playing subordinate roles? Can they not handle us in leadership roles? So what's up?
Okay, school me on this King and who was it? Anne
Boleyn.
Was she black?
And Jodie Turner-Smith is black.
The actress.
The actress.
So you're saying the real wife to the king was black?
No.
Okay.
The real Anne Boleyn was not black, but the actress who played her
was black.
In the film was black.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
And she wasn't just biracial. Right. She was black.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Blackity black.
Well, what difference does it make?
It never made a difference until white folks, until we became the people making the movies. Then it became an issue. We never really, we did complain and say, we don't see ourselves in the movie. So now that we are ones who can make movies, we are ones who are starring in movies, and when we do the artistry of making the movie the way we want to make it, now they want to complain. That's what the difference is.
Okay. I guess you missed my point. This woman lived in what, 69 BC to like 36 BC?
Right.
Come on, give me a break.
What? Well, you know what? They're the ones making a fuss out of it. You have an Egyptian lawyer who's suing Netflix. You have this MAGA crowd that's shouting and speaking up about it and saying that we're cultural. They're saying that we are cultural appropriators.
Right.
And so
what?
Cultural appropriate.
Yeah. You have the MAGA crowd, right? The people who love Elvis are saying that we are cultural appropriators, and so you have this big uproar. The comments were so bad and so many and so negative that Netflix had to suspend the comment section. And so
did they take the movie off?
No, the movie's still playing.
Just a comment.
But it's just what it is that it was a visceral reaction towards black folks playing this role. No one said anything when Elizabeth Taylor did it. No one said anything about, like, again, when they play the gods of Egypt, and so, or when they play, I mean, there's a multitude of roles that they played throughout the years. They portrayed Jesus as being Northern European, and so nobody says anything about it. Nobody has a problem with it. But you know what I mean, when it's black folks that are placed into these roles, that's when the uproar happens, and so that's what makes it a big deal.
I mean, it still seems a big deal because those people who are having a visceral reaction to it, they have a visceral reaction about everything that deals with us. That's a mega crowd.
Yes,
And
that
so,
is true.
you know,
And we address it here on the show.
you probably have some people who watch our show and have a visceral reaction to it. You know, why are those black folks even having the show?
Right.
That's the irrationality that's out there.
It is.
But I'm not saying, is that the majority of the people out there? Is that just this?
No, I mean, it's a lot, and it was a big reaction. And so again, we on the show, we do address those kind of topics when people have this reaction to things that involve us. And so, and I think we're just taking time out to address this as well.
The BBC did a documentary where scientists were able to retrieve, I guess, the body of her sister, and they did some DNA studies on her, and they found out that she did have African blood in her. Now, I don't know whether people don't think that Egypt is not in Africa.
It is.
It's so far north.
No, it is.
You know?
They try to call it the Middle East, though,
Yeah.
which is no such thing as
And
the Middle
another thing
East.
that's interesting, I've seen videos on YouTube from black Egyptians, and they're coming out saying that many Egyptians even question them being Egyptians because they're black.
You have, I mean, and that's, you have that the world over, and so there's this the same issues that we faced here as far as the light skin and dark skin and those kind of issues. And you had those worldwide. You had that when what is it, the Black Panther 2 came out, and you had an indigenous person who was playing this character on there, and so he talked about his experiences as an indigenous person in South America, in southern in Mexico, and in southern the southern hemisphere. And so there's a lot of racism or prejudice when it comes to that. And so the Egyptians, it's the same thing. They've done a number on the Egyptian mindset. They've done a number on the Arabic mindset. If you look at the way the Arabs portray themselves in media, in advertisement, you will never see a dark-skinned Arab being portrayed. If you go to Brazil, you will never see a dark-skinned Brazilian on any kind of billboard or advertisement, because the face that they want to present to the world is that of a white Portuguese Brazilian.
Do Africans do the same thing in Africa?
No.
They don't?
Well, they do.
I would say
bleaching.
they do skin bleaching, and it's bad. It's bad in Jamaica. It's bad in the Caribbean, and it is bad in some African countries. But you can go to a country like Nigeria that's very, very big, bold, black, and proud, and you will see black women portrayed in media, on billboards, in movies.
So why can't Egyptians do it?
Like I say, it's the Western world. It's the same thing is done to a lot of us here. They've done that there, and so there's a issue of complex.
If they have this image for hundreds of years of Cleopatra.
Elizabeth Taylor.
No, not as Elizabeth Taylor. I don't know in Egypt what is the image. I'm not talking about the United States. I'm talking about Egypt, not the United States. Because you know what white folks are going to do in the United States? They're going to make everybody white.
Right.
You know, I'm saying if the Egyptians have an image that's going to make their people, Egyptians, proud. If Nigeria does the same thing, make Nigerians proud, why are you knocking?
No, so here's and so this is the deal. And so when you talk about Egypt, Egypt's official name is the United Arab Republic. That is their name today. There is a reason for that. Egypt was invaded in 640 AD. It was an Arabian conquest that came into Egypt and spread across North Africa. So the people who are currently in Egypt are the descendants of the Egyptians that flooded in. So when we talk about Egypt today, we are not talking about ancient Egypt, which is a black empire, which was created by black folks, populated by black folks. We're not talking about, it's not the same people who are in power today. And so when those people came in, the first thing they did was destroy the monuments. The first thing they did was remove the stone from the pyramids to build their mosque. And so that alone should tell you that the pyramids meant nothing to these people. For them to go in there and start raiding the tombs, these were not their kings, these were not their queens. This meant nothing to them. But what you have today is revisionist history. And so the descendants of this Arabic conquest are trying to claim a history that is not theirs. And so, and they're very sensitive about
A
this.
history that's not there.
This is not theirs. Those people are descendants from Arabs. They're descended from an Arab conquest. They're not the ancient Egyptians. You can read Herodotus, and he will tell you in all his works, whenever he referred to someone who was black, he would say that they were descendants of the Egyptians. I know that they were descendants of the Egyptians because they're black, like the Egyptians.
Okay, now I'm trying to follow this.
Yeah, because he gave you a lot.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you.
he's way above my paycheck now. My paycheck's down
I'm
here.
trying to not be animated, and I'm trying to not be calm.
He gave you a lot
Because,
right
yeah,
there.
you know what I mean? No, I mean, and so I guess my ultimate point with this, there's a lot of confusion and stuff like this. So I just want to make a couple of points to my people. And so one of the points I want to make is that the Cleopatra was a descendant of the Ptolemaic dynasty. This dynasty lasted less than 300 years. It lasted less than America has been in existence. It was an insignificant dynasty. The dynasty was started by a former general of Alexander the Great, Ptolemy. His original name was Soter. And so this man who started the dynasty, they were Macedonian. They came and they ruled from Alexandria. Alexandria is a city that was started by Alexander the Great, and it was filled with Macedonians. And so they did not rule from the traditional home of the Egyptians, which was Memphis. They never went to some of the holy sites in Egypt, Jebel Barka. They never went to Karnak. They never did any of the things that will make them legitimate rulers of Egypt. And so I want to clear this up for my people. So when you talk about her being an African queen, that's a stretch. And so the other thing about this dynasty was that the first out of the first 15 rulers of that dynasty, 13 of them were brothers who married their sisters.
Whoa.
And that's how we know that they were not black. And so the other 2 out of the first 15 were an uncle marrying a niece. Cleopatra herself was married to her brother before Julius Caesar killed him.
Whoa.
And so it was a very inbred dynasty. And so what I wanted to say to my people is it was an insignificant dynasty. And if they want Cleopatra, let them have her. By the time she became a ruler of Egypt, Rome had already ruled Egypt for many, many, many decades. She was basically nothing more than a Roman governor. They needed Rome to stay in power. And so again, if the MAGA crowd wants to have her and the Egyptians want to have her, let them have her, because she's nothing.
In the movie, was that, I can't recall, was that the relation, when Elizabeth Taylor did it, she did it with Richard Burton, didn't she?
So,
He was
yeah,
playing
so
Caesar?
she had a baby by Caesar, Julius Caesar, Caesarion. And after Caesar was assassinated, she entered into a relationship with his successor, which was Mark Antony. And she had 3 kids by Mark Antony. And she ended up, they got defeated by Oh my goodness. He's my favorite Roman ruler. And I forgot his name. But anyway, they got defeated, and Mark Antony committed suicide, and then she committed suicide. And that was the end of the Egyptian Empire. So she actually lost the Egyptian Empire. And it was never
Cleopatra
free after
committed
that.
suicide?
Cleopatra committed suicide. And so she was the last. She was the last. And so they lost they lost Egypt. So when to argue over this woman who actually lost the empire, who lost Egypt, who was insignificant, who was inbred, like I said, we have so many beautiful African queens, and which I don't understand why Jada even decided to showcase her.
Well, we don't have to go to Africa. We got so many beautiful African American
Well,
queens.
the title of the show is African Queens. And so we could have showcased, they're just Amenorinas. And so there were, there's Sheba, there's oh my goodness, there's just, I can't even think, there's so many of them right now. I'm just, Nzinga, well, she already did Nzinga, but there are just many African queens that we could Tai, Nefertiti, Nefertari. The list goes on and on and on and on of the queens that she should have showcased. And so why she chose a Macedonian woman who wasn't even really an African queen, who only ruled a city in Egypt, while the rest of Egypt was ruled by black folks who continued to rule it. That's beyond me. But again, my message to my folks is they can have her, let them have her. She's
Okay.
inbred.
Okay. Well, why does she have to feature beautiful African women? Why isn't he our young girls here relate more to black women here. I mean, like Africa's someplace way off. It seems to me that she could have concentrated on beautiful black women who have done things here. They certainly need, it's like Oprah goes to Africa and sets up schools. And we need schools here. Why is all this reach to Africa? Like it's so much more valuable than Africans here, African Americans here in this country. And that's where I draw the line. At least that's where I draw the line. You want to add anything?
No, I don't want to add nothing.
No, but you know what?
I'll just say something real quick.
Go ahead.
Is it a reach? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I think that our black girls, our black boys need to see their imaging, their representation, whether it's in the United States, whether it's Africa, since we always saying, our roots are in Africa. They need to see where our representation was beyond servanthood. Okay?
But you don't have to go to Africa to do that.
But still, the way Hollywood has portrayed us, oftentimes was as maids, as housekeepers. So now we're in an opportunity, whether we do domestic or international, is to see the role of black people in non-domestic type roles.
I agree with you. I differ from you all. I think we need to do it right here. Okay, this is where we are. Okay, this is where we've been for 400 years. I can tell you, we're trying to love them, and in D.C.,
And who's them?
Africans in D.C., African cab driver go right by you if you're a black man here in America.
Well, that's one person.
They look down on us.
They don't look down.
Oh.
That's one person. And so I tell you what, folks, and again, I'm speaking. You make this. You're gonna have to make this connection, and I'm gonna tell you why. And I'm gonna try to run it down quick. So Africa is at an epoch, and so technology has afforded us a chance to right historical wrongs and to get our economic house in order. And so what I'm saying to my folks is right now, they did a study. The Biden administration did a study, and the study came back, and they were talking about electric vehicles and electric vehicle future. And because 2030 is the time when they're going to stop manufacturing gasoline vehicles. Everything's going to be electric vehicles. And so in this study, he came back and the report came back and said an electric vehicle is nothing more than a tin box with a battery in it. And he asked him, he said, well, the question was posed, well, what's in that battery? And the answer to that question was Africa. Africa's in that battery. And so Africa right now, 73% of the cobalt that is going onto the global market to manufacture these EV batteries comes from Africa. 50%.
Out of the Congo region.
In the Congo, and 50% of the lithium. And so again, I just want to make this: 90% of the platinum comes from South Africa, and 40% of the world's gold. And so this is a chance, like I say, Africa, the Congo has been called the Saudi Arabia of the electric vehicle era. And so what I'm saying is this: we graduate 4,000 engineers in this country every year. There are 500,000 black engineers in this country right now that's currently practicing in that field. We know how to build a business. We know how to start. We know how to start consortiums. And so what we need to do is we need to organize, get ourselves together, unify, get over there, and help develop those resources. Because when we do that, that's real power. That's real power when black folks are controlling the resources, minding the resources. And the next time America does what America normally does, and they shoot a young black unarmed person, and they want to cover it up, I'm gonna tell you what power looks like. Power looks like us telling them you're not getting any more coltan, you're not getting any more cobalt, and you stop the global economy, and that's power for black folks. Okay. So that's my message to my people.
Drop the mic.
That's my message to my people.
Okay,
Drop the mic.
We're gonna end on that.
I have nothing to say.
Yeah, drop the mic on that, man.
So we're gonna close out. Okay. This has been. Well, next week is Mother's Day weekend. We're still asking you. I have some precious moments that people have shared with me with their moments. So we want to do that next week, okay?
I thought you weren't gonna be here. I thought you weren't gonna be here next week. Are you gonna be here next week?
Oh, I don't know, but I'll give them to you to read, okay? But we want people to send us precious moments with your mother, and we're going to take maybe not Hot Topics time. We'll take some off Hot Topics time and read those. In the meantime, this is contemporary black voices saying.
Let me say something.
Go ahead.
I have to say this.
Okay.
So
You cut me off. That's okay.
Sure.
I have to cut you off of this because next week is the birthday of someone who I love dearly and who I admire, who has been a mentor to me for decades. And so I want you guys to go onto the site, and I want you to wish a happy birthday to my dear brother, my dear friend, and my mentor, Professor Fred Williams.
Amen.
I love him to death.
I think that. That. You know, it's an interesting thing about birthdays. When you're young, you're happy to have them come. You get old, you get depressed.
And I've got one more thing I want to say. Go to our website, contemporaryblackvoices.com, and leave messages, follow or continue following this discussion.
Okay, thank you. So that's it. We will see you on our next segment. In the meantime, this is telling our story, our way.